mind you, they might. See, you can't hear us. See? You can't appreciate it. No.
frigid out there, but very sunny, and that helps our disposition, doesn't it, to look outside and see the sun shining. And welcome all who are watching us virtually as well. We want to think about this as one big spiritual community, whether it's virtual or here in person. So thank you for deciding to spend some time with us this afternoon, and we welcome all of you. So let's begin, as we always do, with a meditation. I want to, maybe we should wait. Oh, okay. Okay, so we can get ready for a meditation. I want to invite you to close your eyes and leave all of the concerns of the day behind you. All the busyness, all the doing, all the planning, all the thinking. And relax your body. And if you find that you feel some little tension somewhere, just tell that muscle or that space to relax. And now let's bring our minds down into our hearts, bringing our full attention into our heart space. And if you feel comfortable, place your hand on your heart to remind you that your attention is in this sacred space. Let's take 2 deep breaths together, breathing in and out from the heart. Breathing in to the heart space, and now breathe out. And one more deep breath in and out. Let's say to ourselves, I feel my mind and body calming and grounding and coming into perfect balance as I turn inward and fully aware of my true nature, aligned with true, pure love, one with divine love. And we say to ourselves, I know that everything is always working out for me. Every cell is operating exactly as it is designed to. And I feel incredible, healthy, whole, and vital. At peace and joy-filled. I am so deeply grateful for every blessing in my life. And know so deeply within that all is well. And together we say, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you so much, Corey. I have a little reading for you from this kind of old and yellowed book I found at the fellowship office. It's called listening to nature, how to deepen your awareness of nature. And there are lots of little essays. In this particular one, a woman writes about seeing her neighbor walking with her little daughter, Julia. And she sees her one time, and the mom is pulling her along, come on, and hurrying her along. And then the next time she saw her, she was just letting the little 3-year-old stop and look at anything she wanted to, stop and look at bugs and butterflies. And the next time she saw her neighbor, she said, I made a point of telling her how touched I'd been to see her walking with Julia, the little 3-year-old. I mentioned how different their walk had seemed from the weekday morning when they'd been hurrying along together. Carol said, oh, the first time you saw us, we were on what I call a time hike. We were late for nursery school. And because Julia doesn't understand time like we do, she can't see any reason to rush. And I don't want Julia to lose her ability to relax and enjoy things as she grows up. So on Saturday mornings, we go on what I call being walks. We go where Julia wants, and we pick up leaves, we look at insects, and spend as much time enjoying nature as she likes. So this author says, go for a walk with a child. Go for a walk with your inner child and encourage their sense of wonder and share the delight of discovery. I thought both of these observations were so wonderful. First of all, this little 3-year-old just not even being able to see any reason to rush. She doesn't have any concept of time. How wonderful would that be? And I love the idea of being walks, just walking through nature and just being. So I want to thank Rachel Carson for her observations. So we're going to sing a fellowship song right now. I'd like to invite you all to stand if you're comfortable, if you're able, and turn to page 40 in your songbooks. We're going to sing The Power of Decision. Special music from our dear Corey Williams. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. This is one that I recorded at the office during our interim, our title parts. So some of you may have heard it before. This is called Breath of Life. Stop and breathe the breath of life today. Take a moment from your busy way. Let the inhalation, the source of all creation, give you inspiration as you pray, with a simple song of gratitude and love. Stop and breathe the breath of life today. Stop and drink the water of the soul. Feel this moment sacredly unfold. Let the flowing river, the sparkling life giver, fill you and forever make you whole in the healing waves of gratitude and love. Stop and drink the water of the soul. The world will try to blind you to the present here and now. The Spirit's kingdom right before your eyes. It will bind you up and bind you to the future, past and now. It will keep you running all the time. Just stop and breathe, and you will find new peace of mind. Stop and bask within the light of peace. May this moment give your heart release. Let illumination, the beauty of creation, fill you with the grace that shall not cease, in a holy dance of gratitude and love. Stop and bask within the light of peace. Let the Spirit's light in you increase. Just stop and live within the light of peace. Stop and live within the light of peace. Let it be so. Thank you.
That was just beautiful, and Corey is such a wonderful composer, and we appreciate you so much, so much. Thank you. Well, this is the time of our service that we stop and take a moment to really be grateful for our tithes and offerings, for all of the generosity that all of our fellowship members show to the fellowship, so that we can have these wonderful services and have this time together. And we stop as well to be grateful for our blessings and gifts in our lives. So if you would, pull your bulletin out and read with me the blessing of the tithes and offerings. The light of divine love shines eternally, blessing and multiplying our tithes and offerings. I joyously give, knowing I always have enough to share and to spare. Thank you so much. Thank you, Robert. One more wonderful fellowship song together. So if you'd like to stand, please, and turn in your songbooks to page 24. I relax, and I release.
I relax and I release and I let go today. I relax and I release and I let go today. I relax and I release and I let go today. I relax and I release and I let go. I will shine and let God's ideas flow through me. I will shine and let God's ideas flow through me. I will shine and let God's ideas flow through me. I will shine and let God's ideas flow. Lovely harmonies.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone. Please have a seat. And now I'm so pleased to introduce our speaker for this afternoon. It's our own Reverend Cheryl Goodman, and she is one of our Fellowship School of Ministry graduates and was ordained by the Fellowship. So she always brings us something that is just so thoughtful and interesting, and she just comes from a wonderful, unique place in her heart, and I always look forward to her talk. So let's give her a warm, warm welcome.
Thank you, Mary. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. So when Mary asked me if I would like to give a talk to the fellowship, I wasn't sure what I would speak about. But I realized that if I would stay open to what the universe would offer, I would find a topic, and that is exactly what happened. When my meditation group met recently, one of the members spoke about a book she was reading on self-compassion, and upon further inquiry, I decided this was the topic I needed to learn more about now. I've always paid attention to how people talk to themselves, what their inner voice is saying. Is it kind and caring, or is it critical and condemning? And I realize that most people I know have a critical inner voice. So the topic of self-compassion is about softening one's inner voice. So what really is self-compassion? At the most basic level, self-compassion simply requires being a good friend to ourselves. And this is good news, because most of us already know how to be a good friend to others. Most of us know what to say when somebody close to us is facing a difficult life challenge. I'm so sorry. What do you need right now? And to use a warm tone, soften our voice, and relax our body. Self-compassion is a practice where we become an inner ally rather than an inner critic. But typically, we don't treat ourselves as well as we treat our friends. With self-compassion, we learn to speak to ourselves like a good friend. But the more complete definition includes 3 core elements that we bring to bear when we are in pain: mindfulness, common humanity, and self-kindness. A definition of mindfulness comes from the meditation teacher Guy Armstrong. Quote, "Knowing what you are experiencing while you are experiencing it. It's moment-to-moment awareness." Christopher Germer, in the book The Mindful Path to Self-Compassion, says, quote, "Mindfulness has a quality of being in the now, a sense of freedom, of perspective, of being connected, not judging, just flowing through the day, and we're less likely to want life to be other than it is, at least for the moment. So why is mindfulness an essential component of self-compassion? Because we need to turn toward and acknowledge when we're suffering, to be with our pain long enough to respond with care and kindness. And Kristen Neff says in, quote, the Mindful Self-Compassion Workbook, that while it may seem that suffering is so completely compelling, many people don't acknowledge how much pain they're in, especially when the pain stems from their own self-criticism. Also, when dealing with life's many challenges, people get so caught up in problem solving that they don't consider how hard it is in the moment. Allen Ginsberg, a poet, says, quote, the suffering itself isn't so bad. It's our resentment against suffering that is the real pain. So to be self-compassionate, the first step we need to take is mindfulness, which gives us the ability to respond in a new way. While it's easy to be mindful for a few moments, it's difficult to maintain that state of mind in a sustained way. So let's talk about the myths of mindfulness. Myth number 1, I'm terrible at mindfulness. My mind wanders all the time. The truth is that everybody's mind wanders. That's how the mind works. Anne Lamott, who's an author, says, quote, your mind is like a dangerous neighborhood. You don't want to go there alone. End quote. Mindfulness isn't about having a perfectly quiet mind. It's about learning to see the mind clearly with all the confusion, chaos, hopes, and fears. Myth number 2, mindfulness is just about present moment attention. Mindfulness is about how and why we pay attention, and it involves paying attention with an attitude of kindness and curiosity. Myth 3, mindfulness takes too much time. Actually, research says that mindfulness saves time. It increases your clarity, attention, and effectiveness as you live day to day. When you're less distracted and make fewer mistakes, you save time. Myth 4, mindfulness makes you soft. Some people feel if they get too mindful, they'll lose their edge. But the opposite is true. Mindfulness will sharpen your edge. Myth 5, mindfulness is passive and it won't help you change. Mindfulness is neither passive nor resigned acceptance. Acceptance is simply the first step towards change and growth. When we see things clearly, we respond to them effectively. Myth 6, mindfulness is selfish. The opposite is true. Research shows that mindfulness makes us more generous, more compassionate, and better able to support others. And the last myth, mindfulness is just about meditation. Like going to a gym to strengthen our muscles, meditation strengthens our capacity for mindfulness. And since it can be practiced in every moment, it helps us go from reaction to response. Viktor Frankl, a renowned psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, said it best, quote, between the stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lie our growth and freedom. Shauna Shapiro wrote in Good Morning, I Love You, while mindfulness does not necessarily change what is happening, it changes our relationship to what is happening. So together, the mindful pause and the witness state free us from our ingrained reactions especially in emotionally charged situations. So let's talk about common humanity, which is the second aspect of self-compassion. Shapiro says, quote, "Then when we experience misfortune, we're likely to feel like we're the only one in the world who is suffering. And we often feel shame as if we alone were responsible for it. And we know that shame isolates. Common humanity is a sense of interconnectedness. It's recognizing that all humans struggle, that everyone fails, makes mistakes, and experiences hardship in life. Self-compassion recognizes the unavoidable fact that life entails suffering for everyone without exception. While we think it may seem obvious, it's so easy to forget because we fall into the trap of believing that things are supposed to go well, and that when something goes wrong and when they don't, so we need to remember that the pain can be transformed into a moment of connection with others. The pain I feel in difficult times is the same pain you feel in difficult times. Although the circumstances are different, the basic experience of human suffering is the same. Mother Teresa observed decades ago, quote, "The biggest disease today is not leprosy or tuberculosis, but rather the feeling of not belonging. All too often we forget we are part of the web of life and instead keep ourselves imprisoned in a cell of separateness. Common humanity connects us to all of humanity." The third aspect of self-compassion is self-kindness. Self-kindness is the opposite of self-judgment. When we make a mistake or fail in some way, we're more likely to beat ourselves up than put a supportive arm around our own shoulder. Think of all the generous, caring people you know who constantly tear themselves up. My husband, who is here, has a critical voice when he does something wrong, such as spilling something in the kitchen. He will say something like, "Oh, Eric, you are so clumsy." When I suggest that he talk kinder to himself, he shrugs it off as if it isn't that important. But I believe it is important to speak with kindness to ourselves. Derek Walcott, a poet, says, quote, "The time will come when with elation you will greet yourself arriving at your own door in your own mirror and will smile at the other's welcome." End of quote. Research on self-compassion refers to a concept called backdraft, which refers to the pain, often very old pain, that may arise when we give ourselves kindness and compassion. Backdraft is a term that firefighters use to describe what happens when a fire has used all available oxygen and fresh oxygen is introduced through an open window or door. The air rushes in and the flames rush out. A similar effect can occur when we open the door of our hearts with self-compassion. This means that when we open the door of our hearts and the fresh air of self-compassion flows in, old pain and fear is likely to come out. I realized I experienced backdraft when I was in a meeting and I experienced a lot of anxiety and realized how hard I had to work to keep my attention on the topic. I felt an upwelling of sadness for myself and how hard my emotional life had been, and I was unprepared for the intensity of those feelings. So these difficult feelings are not created by the practice, but we simply recognize and feel them as they go out the door. Christopher Germer says it is part of our healing practice. So what can we do about backdraft? Kristen Neff writes that you can begin by asking yourself, what do I need right now, especially what do I need to feel safe? Then depending on what feels right to you, she suggests that you consider the following strategies. Are you practicing mindfulness to be more attentive? Simply label the experience like I did as backdraft in a tone that you can use like with a close friend. Name your strongest emotion in a compassionate manner. So for me it was, oh, there's fear. Here's fear again. Explore where the emotion physically resides in your body, perhaps as tension in your stomach or back pain, and give that part of your body soothing or supportive touch. Redirect your attention to a neutral focus inside your body, such as breath or sound. And feel your toes sinking down into the ground, grounding you. And the last, anchor your awareness in some everyday activity, such as washing the dishes, walking, or doing exercise. If you find it pleasurable, you may allow yourself to savor it. So the late Thich Nhat Hanh says, quote, no mud, no lotus. In other words, without being rooted in the muck of life, we wouldn't be able to balance into our full potential. One of the gifts of self-compassion is that it allows us to be present with our suffering without being overwhelmed, giving us the support needed for growth and discovery to occur. So to truly understand what self-compassion is, it's important to differentiate it from self-esteem. In our Western culture, high self-esteem requires standing out in a crowd, being special and above average. The problem is, it's impossible for everyone to be above average at the same time. While we can excel in some areas of our lives, there's always someone more attractive, successful, and intelligent than we are, meaning that we can feel like failures if we compare ourselves to them. So how is self-compassion different from self-esteem? Number one, self-esteem is a positive evaluation of self-worth. However, self-compassion isn't a judgment or an evaluation at all. It's a way of relating to the ever-changing landscape of who we are with kindness and acceptance, especially when we feel inadequate. Number two, self-esteem requires feeling better than others. Self-compassion requires acknowledging that we are all imperfect. 3, self-esteem isn't there for us when we fail or make a fool of ourselves, whereas self-compassion is always there for us, a reliable source of support, even when our worldly stock has crashed. Kristen Neff says that, quote, one of the biggest blocks to self-compassion is the belief that it will undermine our motivation. We fear that if we are kind to ourselves, we won't have the drive necessary to make changes or reach our goals. I think some people feel that they need to be harsh with themselves to achieve things, otherwise they wouldn't have the motivation to keep pushing themselves so hard. Research shows that self-compassionate people not only have greater self-confidence, but they are also less likely to fear failure and are more likely to try again when they do fail. It's important to understand why we criticize ourselves. Research has shown that self-criticism is rooted in the threat defense system. Our inner critic is trying to force us to change so that we will be safe. At some level, our inner critic is constantly trying to ward off dangers that may cause us harm. Of course, the inner critic may not be helpful at all, but its intentions are often good. We can start to transform the critical voice within us so it's not so harsh and unforgiving. We can learn to motivate ourselves with a new voice, that of the compassion itself. So there is a paradox of self-compassion. Neff writes in her book, Fierce Self-Compassion, that, quote, when we give ourselves compassion, not to feel better, but because we feel bad. We must fully accept that things are painful and simply be kind to ourselves because they're painful. This has the effect of reducing our suffering by softening our resistance to it. What we resist persists, so we don't do this to get rid of our struggles, but because we are struggling, we give ourselves self-compassion. So I'd like to end with a self-compassionate practice called Good Morning, I Love You, by the book with the same title by Shauna Shapiro. This is usually done first thing in the morning, and now we are in the afternoon. So, but we can do it now. So how it works is, picture yourself in the morning, you're still lying in bed, and we place our hand on our heart. Thank you, let's do that. And we take a moment to simply feel the connection. Place your hand on your heart. Focus on your palm. Feel your heart pulsing through your chest. Feel how your heart is taking care of you, sending oxygen and nutrients to the trillions of cells in your body. The heart knows exactly how to care for you. You don't have to control it or even think about it. Simply receive this nourishment. When you're ready, take a breath and say, good morning, I love you with your name. So we would say good afternoon. Good afternoon, I love you. And you'd say, for me, I'd say Cheryl. So let's try it again. Good afternoon, I love you, Cheryl. Okay. Notice how this makes you feel. See if you can bring kindness and curiosity to however you're feeling. And there's no right or wrong way to feel. Trust that you are planting the seeds of presence and compassion for yourself, and these seeds will grow and strengthen self-love. Send these seeds of blessing out into the world, offering the phrase, good morning or good afternoon, I love you, to anyone comes to mind. Can you imagine how your day would change if you started your day like that? And recognize that we are never just practicing for ourselves. Everything we do has echoes in the universe. If we create a habit of greeting ourselves with love each morning, these first moments of our day can help to transform the rest of the moments of your day, our lives, and the lives of others. Thank you.
And every thought becomes a prayer. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers, take charge of what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. All right, hopefully you all have a little piece of paper that has some words on it. Love surrounds me. This is a benediction, a blessing song, as we prepare to go back out into the world from this wonderful place, from meeting together. Love above me, love below me, love beside me on my way. Love surrounds me every day, everywhere. I'm going to sing through it once, and then we'll sing it through a couple times together if you want to join me. Thanks. hold me, love to keep me in its care, love within me and everybody. Love surrounds me everywhere. Sing it with me. Love above me, love below me, love beside me on my way, love before me, love behind me, all around me, every day. Love to guide me, love to hold me, love to keep me in its care, love within me and everybody. Love surrounds me everywhere. Sing it again. Love above me, love below me, love beside me on my way, love before me, love behind me, all around me, every day. Love to guide me, love to hold me, love to keep me in its care, love within me and everybody. Love surrounds me everywhere. Love to guide me, love to guide me, love to hold me, love to keep me in its care, love within me and everybody. Love surrounds me everywhere. Love surrounds me everywhere. Let that be so.
Yeah.
Thank you, my friends.
Aren't we just blessed? My goodness. Thank you, Corey.
So pretty.
And we can take this with us and use it. Even if we're not singing, we can use it as a prayer. It's beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. I want to thank everyone for being here with us this afternoon. All of your loving energy and all of the loving energy from those who are watching virtually. We feel it. And, you know, I think of that 12-year-old and her story about her father, who is the minister, who says, reminds everyone every week, you are so loved and you are so beautiful and everything is going to be just fine because we have each other. So thank you for being here. I just have one quick announcement. Reverend Sue Quinn is not going to be doing her Waldemar walk on the first Sunday of the month, so just a notice about that, and we'll try to remember to put that in the announcements as well. So now it is time to get into our big peace circle in person and virtually, and think about all the people in this world right now who are joining in with this cry for peace and feeling that love is the answer, knowing that love is the answer. So please join me in the peace circle, and then we'll say our closing blessing to end.
that was meant to be. If God has created family are we, let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. And please begin with me, let this be the moment now. Every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To think each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God is within us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And that's the truth. Yay.